I would just like to apologize in advance. There is no particular art being done in this video, unlike many of the others. Instead, if you guys ever wondered how it is that I make my thumbnails, now you know. Yeah, again, sorry. I'm going to try and make this quick. Hello people of Earth and elsewhere, welcome back to the channel where the content is spam and I am Crackers. This time around, spam is me going into the nitty-gritty controversies of live-action adaptations of anime. Or at least I'm going to try to avoid the really controversial parts and just rant about why a live-action adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an all-around really terrible idea. Back in 2009, there was this thing no one ever wanted to talk about after it became a thing. No one but me, apparently. Dragon Ball Evolution! The audience is now triggered. Guys, I try to be really open-minded about these kinds of things, and lynch me if you must, but I don't think Dragon Ball Evolution was a horrible movie. Was it the worst adaptation of the Dragon Ball franchise to ever exist? Heck yes, it was! But if you remove everything that was supposed to emulate Dragon Ball-ishness remotely, I found it to be an okay movie. At least a B movie. No, I'm not a really good critic. I just thought it was kind of fun to watch. The thing that made this movie such a horrible stain on the good name of Dragon Ball was one thing and one thing only. The motivation for its creation, which of course was money. The man who screenwrote for this thing, Ben Ramsey, openly admitted it earlier this year and apologized to the fans for it. While I read this apology, I came to the stark realization that the major contributing factor to whether something is a good or bad contribution to a franchise is whether it is done in earnest or for the sole purpose of getting revenue out of a big name. I'm not going to say like there's any way to possibly please everyone in a fan base, but at least trying to emulate the original content in a way that makes it presentable to them is a good first step. If you happen to make a lot of money in the process, then I guess that's just a bonus, because let's face facts, money makes the world go round. So, in light of the recent announcements of anime to live action movies from both the United States and Japan, I had something to say. Here's the list I have, and I'm going to make this as unbiased as possible, or my decisions on what to think of them at this point in time. Ghost in the Shell. I haven't seen the original, but I think this one has a bit of promise. I think. I'm going to watch the original, and then I'm going to watch this, and at this point I'm going to say it's way too early to really judge. Death Note. I'm not going to lie, I'll probably end up watching it, but there's been multiple adaptations already, and there's already a freaking musical. Do we really need another live-action Death Note? No, we don't. Naruto. Whatever, Japan. Full Metal Alchemist. Whatever, Japan. Again, but maybe I'll watch this one. Maybe. Also too early to tell. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. What? Someone shoot me now. I did not just hear that. Apparently, back in 2012, there were some rumors of just such a movie that was going to be made. Now, there seem to be even more rumors. At least that's what Crunchyroll called them. Guys, there was a time when an anime of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was thought to be impossible to make. Then a certain David production, who had a stellar team of avid JoJo fans, came along and shocked the current fan base, while expanding it with newly adapted content. It's actually good. Then apparently someone else saw it and said, let's jump on the JoJo train. Not only is it impossible, they're not even gonna try. At least not the same way that David production is. I mean, what is the point? It's one of those movies where you can only imagine there's going to be so much CGI that you may as well just leave it entirely animated. And this is not Hollywood's standard CGI either. Did Araki really agree to this? Was he drugged into signing some contract? Please tell me these are really just more rumors and it's just some big prank. It's a very tasteless prank, but still, it's better that it just remains that way. Why? I mean, if you're gonna make something that inevitably everyone is gonna hate anyway, why wouldn't you just re-release the old Phantom Blood movie? At least there's a good chunk of the fan base who would pay money to see that. Or, maybe that's just me. You want money? Take my money. I'll crowdfund it. Just show me this movie. I said earlier that I try to be open-minded about these kinds of things. I mean, I'm a big nerd, and when someone decides to add to a series I love in some new form of medium, I try not to judge before I check it out. Like, here's the good, bad, and the nitty-gritty about book-to-movies adaptations. Generally good. Like the Harry Potter books to Harry Potter movies. Pretty good. I mean, there are still their purists, but whatever. Bad things. Like the Percy Jackson books to movies. Just all around terrible. Were there some highlights? Maybe, but all around terrible. It's a good thing they're not making any more of those. And then there's the somewhat middle ground things like Jurassic Park, where you can pretty much love all of it, but you really can't speak of the books and the books and the movies like they're the same thing. It's all Jurassic Park, but if you lean one way or another, nobody's really gonna blame you. You get what I'm saying, right? Everything has its pros and cons, but with animation, you get an even bigger stretch. Animation to live action? Be aware that when it comes to when something is animated, there's really very few restrictions on what can be done, and that's one of the reasons why I love animation so much. And with an animation and a manga like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that already stretches the boundaries of reality by making rules for a universe and then regularly breaking them, it's gonna be particularly hard to pull off something new. Live action, my butt. Now, I could continue ranting, but honestly, this whole subject puts me in a bad mood, it puts a bad taste in my mouth, and makes me feel all around horrible in general, so on that note, I'm not even going to act like I'm not offended by the notion of a JoJo live action movie. I'm just gonna go ahead and do my outro now. Thank you, everybody, if you managed to stick through this thing for this long. Consider following my Twitter if you want regular updates on my meanderings of the Nerdist realm and possible future art and video projects. Speaking of which, I have good news! In the midst of this chaos, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 anime has come to a point where I can update my impressions next week, if you want to see that, and the Eyes of Heaven video game gets its release at the end of the month. Remember how I said I was going to do a playthrough of that? Well, I still plan on doing that regardless of my skill level. I promise it will be done. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to draw something that will make me happy. Hope to see you guys next time. Ciao.